It's a wonderful day in the homiehood, a wonderful day for a homie. Won't you be my homie to Taro? Watching a lot of Raptors lately with my partner who really loves basketball, and there's a constant bombardment of gambling gambling advertisements, and it's like it feels like it's pretty much inescapable. So even the announcers at halftime are like, "Hey, don't forget to like download this app and gamble on the game." And I think it's like it's a really immoral thing, and it's not something that we should be promoting, especially when if you consider, like watching sports is something that is kind of like fun for the whole family. Um, but it is kind of being corrupted by this gambling industry. And there's an opinion piece in the Globe today. I haven't read it yet. Sports gambling is strangling the beauty of sports. Um, and it's from Bruce Kidd, who it includes a correction. I guess that's good to know. Special to the Globe and Mail. Bruce Kidd is a professor emeritus of sports policy at the University of Toronto and a former Canadian Olympian. So I guess maybe that makes them well positioned to have an opinion on this. Um, so, ever since the federal government officially lifted its ban on single game sports betting in 2021, enabling provinces to legalize it in their own jurisdictions, watching sports on TV has felt like being in a casino. It's not just the wall to wall ads, it's also the sense that the entire sports media complex has become an enabler. And that's what like is kind of like disappointing is like when you see the announcers, the people covering the game, um, you you're kind of like you like that person, and then at halftime they're just like, oh, and don't forget to like try to like develop like a gambling habit. It makes you kind of like lose trust in the broadcast itself, because it's like, oh well, maybe there's an ulterior motive that I should just be spending money developing some sort of gambling addiction on the game. And that is like it's really frustrating. You would never, if I was like, for example, delivering the news and then also saying like, oh, don't forget to like gamble your money and potentially develop like a lifelong uh addiction that could vastly impact your life negatively and your family's life negatively. Like, I think people would rightfully call me out and be like, whoa, I really question this person's intentions. So moving on, professional leagues such as the NBA and the NHL now support betting, even making formal agreements with official sports betting partners. Team ownership groups such as Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment and media outlets such as the Sports Network have also partnered with sportsbooks. So yeah, super sus, right? Current stars such as the Toronto Maple Leafs, Austin Matthews, and iconic legends like Wayne Gretzky have been paid to advertise with betting companies, and on air broadcasters discuss their selections and share other gambling information. Even the small print reminder to bet responsibly reinforce the messages that sports have primarily become a vehicle for gambling. Yeah, they're always like, oh, you can bet responsibly. And then, yeah, it does bring in the question of like, are these games fair? Like, if there are people betting on the games, if there's people who have an interest in like who is the victor of the game, then doesn't that kind of like bring into question the integrity of sports themselves? Because there's a vested interest. And I mean, a lot of people say that sports, professional sports, are rigged anyways. And, to my impression, my, conspiracy theorist hat on, I kind of think that they are. But of course, it's going to be even worse when there's like an entire gambling industry based around sports. So it's too early to have hard data on the number of Canadians who have developed addiction disorders from betting on sports since its legalization and the advent of advertising in the industry. And yeah, that is all the problem. Like, we're basically opening people up to addiction. Um and addiction, gambling addiction, it ruins families. It tears families apart, So it's highly immoral, and I think just something that even if it's legal, it should not be allowed to be like thrown in your face in the way that it is, where like you're just bombarded with advertisements when, for me, I just want to watch basketball and watch the Raptors game, like, and I saw one complaint too, just saying that like it's like my children are excited for when they turn 18 so they can start betting on the game. And like why is that something that we want to be advertising to kids? But we do know that gambling more broadly can be harmful. Last year, Statistics Canada reported that 1.6% of Canadians 15 and older who had gambled in 2017, that is about 304,000 Canadians, were at moderate to high risk of gambling disorders, including mental health issues, losing money to the point of falling into debt, and jeopardizing close relationships. What I most worry about is how television advertising is inculcating, inculcating. This is such a funny word. Young Canadians into sports betting, rather than nurturing an appreciation of sports through the beauty of skilled athletes playing at their best, the drama of a closely fought game, and the communal joy of being amidst fellow fans. It is estimated that 10% of the audience for sports on television is made up of youth under 18, and the Australian Gambling Research Centre has reported that research into the advertising of other harmful products such as advertising increases uptake and consumption, especially in the adolescent starter market. And yeah, that is like honestly really the concern, that this is something that people are going to get into the moment they're allowed to, and possibly even younger, because like, of course, like people can try their best to verify, but you could also gamble through someone who's of age. If your older brother can download the app, you can still place bets through your older brother or whatever, right? And at a time when Canada is already facing increased challenges in providing accessible and rewarding sports opportunities for children and youth to participate in, highly publicized sports betting poisons the meaning of sports. The message today is that the joy of sports only comes from placing a winning bet, not from actually playing. Yeah, I can agree with this sentiment as well. Like, it's basically telling people to have like a secondary passive role in engaging with sports. So the industry itself can be recriminalized, of course. That would only drive it back underground. But Canada should strictly regulate all advertising for sports betting on television and other media. Yeah, this is like my concern. Like, mostly like, okay, yeah, makes a great point. If it's recriminalized, you could still just place those bets. Although I don't think it would be as big of an industry. Like, you couldn't build an entire industry around it. At the same time, OLG or whatever, like these lottery companies exist, right? So, but what bothers me is the advertising, being bombarded by ads. And like, I don't think you should be allowed to just constantly indoctrinate people, be like, oh, bet. Like, oh, you want the game to be more fun? Then bet. So Canada should strictly regulate all advertising for sports betting on television and other media, just as it does for liquor and tobacco advertising. Yeah, because these are addictive things. So there should be regulation. It'd be like advertising for like Pornhub, like at the halftime show. It's like, should you be able to access porn? Yeah, sure. Is it addictive? Yeah, sure. But should you be allowed to advertise it for something that like children are going to watch, even if it's like gate kept to people who are over 18? No, I really don't think you should. So Ribert here saying lottery tickets are advertised like Lotto Max are advertised as is. Yeah, right. And it's not like, it's really not bombarding. Like, there's not an entire industry around, like, you don't watch the basketball game and get bombarded with lottery ads, or watch tennis and get bombarded with lottery ads. Although I still think, are there not like laws restricting the amount and the way that you're allowed to advertise for the lottery? I don't know. It just doesn't seem like as big of a problem. But obviously, if they were to apply some sort of law, then I think, all gambling should be regulated in the way it's allowed to be advertised. There was a time too when like crypto was taking off, and like every other ad was crypto and every other ad was like gambling. And it's like, these are just 100% ads for gambling. It's like, and it's like during a time when like it's like hard times for like the majority of Canadians, and like money is tight, and it's like, wow, gamble your money in crypto, gamble your money on sports, and it's like, okay, maybe just like let me chill, let me not develop a debilitating lifelong addiction to the cheap thrills of sports betting. Doing so would discourage further growth in gambling for the same reasons that past governments wisely restricted advertising of the other substances. Promoting it contributes to harmful addictions and severe health and social problems. Yeah, like no duh. Like anyone can tell you that, right? Like a lot of people have someone they know who's probably fallen victim to gambling in their life too, right? So Canada should also increase the regulation of sports teams association with gambling corporations in order to protect the integrity of sports. Given the increasingly fluid connections between teams, players, game officials, fans alongside the court, media companies, and betting organizations, there are endless possibilities for insider influencing, especially when a significant number of bets are not on the final score. But on certain events and specific achievements within the game or prop betting, players such as the NFL's Calvin Ridley have already been found in violation of the rules, throwing game integrity into question. Okay, so there we go. If I guess like if the players are allowed to bet, even though I assume they're not allowed to, um, but like yeah, this is like they could throw the game, they could make money, and it doesn't even have to be like, oh, I took out some like loan with the mob or some like illegal bookie, right? They're just doing it on their phone. So it's like really like the access to it is super it's super accessible, right? It's not like even it's like we work to make guns less accessible because they're harmful to people. So like why shouldn't we be doing the same thing with sports betting? Um Indeed, the Canadian political science Declan Hill, who has studied match fixing in soccer and tennis, has argued that even with league scrutiny and impenetrable firewalls, match fixing is almost impossible to stop. What happens when there's no apparent distance between the gamblers and the game? Many European countries ban advertising sports betting to minors. I mean, yeah, damn, that makes sense. Which usually means that ads cannot be shown at venues regularly attended by children or on television until late at night. In Italy, advertising for sports betting is banned from TV altogether. In Australia, there's a national office charged with the responsibility of overseeing sports wagering. But it seems like we really just don't give a F here in Canada. It's like we just really get into bed with big business and become corrupted like so easily here in Canada. But businesses too should be stepping up. Several years ago, Bell Canada initiated a Let's Talk campaign to promote mental health awareness. Yet today, through its own ownership stake at MLSE, I think that was the Maple Leafs Sports Enterprise or whatever, and its specialty channel, TSN, Bell is nurturing gambling among our children, a practice that demonstrably increases the risk of mental health challenges. Okay, so here's something too where it's like, Bell, let's talk. I mean, Bell, let's talk about fucking mental health when it comes to gambling, which is like super obviously hypocritical. For the sake of Canadians, Bell, among others with similar conflicts, should divest from its gambling interest if it wants to participate in sports world. Yeah, 100% agree. So yeah, this article has been corrected to state that the federal government, not Ontario, legalized online gambling, and that MLSE and TSN have partnered with Sportsbook but did not own betting companies. Honestly, I didn't know that this was something that was Canada wide. I thought it was kind of like an Ontario thing because I just assumed like Ontario is trash, and it is. But I didn't really know that this was a Canada wide problem. But I think it is a major problem, something that like really we're not talking about enough, because people are falling victim to this industry, and I worry especially about kids, not even in the sense that the kids who as the moment they turn 18 are going to start gambling, but also because this is an addiction that afflicts a lot of adults, and if they develop a gambling addiction, you know who's going to be affected? Probably their kids. So really, really kind of concerning industry, especially during a recession when I assume gambling, it might be just looked as like, oh, well, maybe I can make a little extra money, and then you end up losing your entire life savings. So lots of I would like to follow up on that story as it develops, although it feels like it's already developed and there might not be enough vocal opposition uh to go back on it. So thanks.